Okay, guys, so that was it from a common user, a buyer and seller. But we need to create now authentication from we need to create authentication and middleware. First of all, we create authentication from manager. So we want to create a new file here. So manager route is equal to manager route js. And then for that, we are going to bring in also express. Const express is equal to express, and then we'll get we create now the route. Const route is equal to express dot route, and then we bring on a manager controller. So manager controller does not exist. What I can do now, I can go to controllers. Then I want to create manager controller .js. I have some code here to paste, and then I'm just going to explain to you about it because it's actually the same thing. It's actually the same thing from here. We will just make some changes here. You can see we create validation. We have validations, and then we now create now the login and registration. So it's pretty much the same. It's totally the same thing. But we will change this just in a minute. Back to back to our route. What I want to do now in the route is now to what I would like to do in the manager route. First of all, is to create now a route that to post. Let's say login. So for the login, we are going to have route dot post method. Sorry, post method, and then we also call it validation. Manager controller dot validation dot validate login, and then manager control dot login. So we have a registration. We will also do the same thing. Manager controller dot validate register, and manager controller dot register. And then lastly, we're just going to export our route. So this is not going to do anything except we have to go to our app.js. This is our many application, many server app. So what we want to do is we can bring in the manager controller, manager route. Dot manager route is equal to manager route, and then this is the route we want to access. And then after that, we need now to do app.use to register now our app, our route for the manager. App.use API, and then slash manager, and then we pass our route. So all the requests we make it to this guy, to this route, it will now hit the manager. So here we will now access them from here, and then if you access them from here, we will now just validate. And then if, for example, if it's a registration, we validate, and then we also call the second param, which is now register. So for this one, if now we go back to, but for that before we want to bring in, want to create manager rules, because we want to remember in if we go to our application, this is a manager, and then we have seller, and we have seller dashboard. So if I log out and then we try to log in again, for example, we try to sign up, I'm just going to, I'm using a fake filler here. So if I try to log out as manager, you see now they require verification code, and then also the email address. This email address is not the one accepted. So if I try to give any verification code, and then um, try to sign up, I'll get an error, registration failed. Why? Because there is a rule for the email address which is accepted, and then also the verification code. So to do this one, we have to go back to our server, and then we want to create our rule. First of all, we have to go to folder rule for middleware. We don't have middleware folder, but we need to create one. Middleware. Mm, So middleware, and then what do we have here? So we have first of all, we need a manager rule, a rule called manager. So manager rule.js. So we'll also need authentication, and then to check if user is a manager. But let's go with the manager rule first. We'll do a couple of things in here. It's not complicated manager rule, so we're just going to do a module.export, um, module.export. So we want to now access the request, get the request, and then what we want to do, we want to check if the request, but first of all, we want to create list of email which we can authorize to access our application, to access as a our application as a manager. So to do that, uh, list of authorized authorized emails. So this const list of authorized emails is equal to email. So we can just generate some emails here. Then I'll show you how we're going to do. So this is an email. This is enough now. Okay. I'm just going to save this one. All right. So this is a list of email authorized as can access our application as admin, as manager. And then secondly, we want to also to create a list of verification code, uh, verification code. Also, let me explain something. This one, for first of all, let's create a list. This is the list, so we can have something like this. But here is now we can use a third-party service where now we can, for example, if we go back to application, so we can have a filter here where the user can just you put in your email, so everything else is not showing. As soon as you put in your email, and then they send you the verification code. So this one can now implement that once that service here. So this rule is just to verify when you send the verification code to the user, and then user will send back the code here. So from back end, from the rule, we just verify the code here to find out if there is actually or is the genuine code. But in this case, we are just going to get just going to provide this random code here, which now you can provide. But when your application is online, it's on live server, so you will have to work on a service, provide a service, or get a service who can provide you the SMS, something like SMS or verification code, send through email so that you can send and then um, uh, verify the user. Okay, so we want to check. So we want to check if the email is actually allowed. So and correct. Also, the code is correct. So what we want to do is if authorized email dot include request dot body dot email. So we just check if the email exists. We can also just go next. But also what I'd like to do is I like first of all to check only email and then tell the user that that email is not allowed. So we can do, for example, if it's not, so just return message. Let's return message for 400 to say you are not authorized to access the to access this application or to log in as a login or create an account as a admin as a manager. But also check for code. Also we check if code if the code is authorized. You if the so we check authorization authorized code dot include, and then we access the param body, and then if it's okay, we just continue, else we return error message invalid code. So that's it. So this is it for manager rule. But what else? Yeah, this is it for manager rule. So what we can do here, we can just go to manager route, and then we want to use now the route. First of all, what actually I would like to do is manager route. Where is the manager route again? Yes, this is the manager route. What I would like to do here, I just want to bring in the rule const manager rule. Manager rule. Where's the manager rule? Okay, here's manager rule. Yes, can do const manager rule is equal to require middleware, not that is equal to require, and then we want to access um, middleware. Sorry, middlewares, and then access now manager rules. Okay, and then just name this manager rule, makes sense. So I want to pass this here. Instead, I want to use this one here. And then I also want to pass this guy here. Okay, so we want to test this. What we want to do first of all, we just go to our Postman and go back to our Postman. So here is manager login. So how do you access the manager login? If you go back to our registration, the app.js, this is app.js. So anything we pass here, if you pass any route here, in any path here, for example, login, or we can pass login, we can pass registration. So everything API.manager is registered here. So from now, our Postman, so we want to now to just pass um, API manager, API slash manager slash login. Of course, we don't have the body, but we can check. Okay, here we got the body. So we pass the email, and then we also pass the password, and then we can also pass just fake code. Let's just pass some code here, some random code. First of all, let's just say just pass nothing. Yeah, don't pass anything, and then just send the request. We see. You are not authorized to access this. But if I pass now a random code, uh, let's get something like let's go back to our rule. This is the rule, and then copy this email. Copy the email. Just the email here, and then let's also pass code, some code. Um, then the code we just copy from here. Just one of this code. We just copy one of the code and then you pass it here. So if I click now, I press now send, we get a different user does not exist. So that error now is not coming from the middleware is okay, everything was okay. So now the error is coming from the manager controller. If you see manager controller, user does not exist. If I change here, user does not exist from manager controller. And then if I save this, we have to try again. User does not exist from manager controller. So this is how we create. This is how you create a middleware for a customer middleware. So the benefit of this one is you can have some rule, some route for your API, for your app API, which you don't want anyone to access, or you want some specific. You need some authorizations to access this sort of route. All right, so this is it for manager rules. But also we need another rule, which which this rule, the rule which we use to just to check if the user is manager. So we can create another one. Say check if manager .js. So what's the job for this one? The job for this one is, for example, if you want to do something, you want to log in, for example, uh, a manager can also still log in from the same login route, but as you say, you are sending the login request. You also send in your role, and then we also check your email address, and we are checking your email address if you can actually log in as a manager, or if you actually sending your API the token. So we also try to check that one if you are manager. So I will show you much more how that one works. But for now, let's just bring in JSON token, JSON web token. JWT is equal to require uh, JSON web token, and then also you bring the user in. All right. So check if manager. We take the request, not that one. So can do const. Can do const. Check if manager. Then we just make sure that is a function, but we need to export it faster. All right. So what we want to do here is extract the token from the authorization header. So we want to get the token from the header. So this is what we're going to do. Header, and then we get the token. If it's empty, if the token does not exist, so we return unauthorized. So here we are accessing the token. Why? Because this is usually you send for the user usually send this for the login. So that means you have token ready, or you to do something else, delete a product, or do any other taking an action which is only required for admin level. So for that one, we check if the token does not exist. So we return an error. Else we have now to we can now go back to we can do try catch. Try catch. So here we just verify the token, and then just get the user, the current user. So we can do the code the user. The coded is equal to JWT.verify token. So you pass the token, and then you process the token, and then we set now the user. So the user now requests that user. Now we pass the funded user, the user we fund, and then we call next. But we are not going to call next that like that. We want to check for the role. What we want to do is now check let's do if user dot role is equal to manager, and then if is not, the role is not equal to manager, let me close this first. If the role is not equal to manager, so we return error, uh, return error. So we're going to do return dot status dot 401, success is equal to false, and then we say messenger unauthorized. Or we can also just say that access access the new for access the new, and then say not a manager, something like that. Okay, uh, that's it. But we can now continue. But before setting that user, we have to make sure that is actually the user there. So if it's okay, now we will just set the user. So let's go down next line, and then we set the user is equal to the requested user is equal to this one. Huh? Um, okay, so and then you can just call next, and then call next. Else we can also catch error. If there is error, we're just going to handle errors. Handle error. Uh, start tree. Uh, so this error is not for the status for the role. Is actually if we catch error with the server, just say something. Sorry, something went wrong. Something went wrong from the server. That's it. Okay, so that's it for this one. We'll get back to it to customize it, to clean the code. But for now, let's go back to route. For this one, we are not actually passing it here. This one, I will show you where you use this one. But for here, we can also create a authentication. So authentication is if you want to create a product, or you want to post a product to access some resource from the server, so you need to be authenticated. But for now, let's just go ahead and create login as manager. So back to our manager controller. So we want to hit the login. Let's go to Postman. We want to hit the registration, register route. So the register route. So this one they require code. Also require name. So for the name is just equal to, let's say, Shabani Muswamba. Let's just pass a second name. Shaban Muswamba Katimbisha, and then that's it. What else you required here? That's registration, just email, name, email, and role, password. Okay. So now at this point now we'll create now an account. So the role will be now as manager, and then we'll just return uh, everything remain the same. So just send the request. Please provide all fields. So which else? We have name. Let's have a look at this one. This one was post. No, this one is actually the same thing. So we're just going to copy. Want to copy that one. Name, email, password. But you can also see from the server. Here we can console.log the body to see what everything we are getting from here. Console.log body request.body to see the request. We have email, we have password, we have verification code, and then we have name. Okay, so role password. If not email, if not role, hmm, I think the request. Let's have a look. The request manager and the register. Let's go to route. See our route is manager and register. This is the one we are actually hitting. And then if you go back to controller, access manager and register. Um, so let's just see. We have email, which is actually email, and then role. Of role is missing. This is role is missing. So role, let's pass role as manager. Okay. So if I now I send again the request, now we get now the user was register, user was created successfully, and then we also have the new user here. The role is manager. You can see. Okay, guys. So this is it for manager. So for check manager, we will now start using it once you start making requests like creating products or accessing some resources. So that will require you anytime you want to make you are making a request, or a seller or a user making a request, we have to check if the current user is actually a manager. Um, Another thing we have to do. Okay, that's it for the APIs for login and the registration. So what you have to do now is now start creating now products. Uh, to create now product, we can first of all use the Postman to create products. So that one, so you also need to create another route, which now the user will make request to create product. So to do that, we can now go and create another, we have to go and create another route here, and then set the controller, all of that. All right, guys, so see you in the next video then.